a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. Let's bring in our own, who's been with us since morning, but let's bring her in again. Our Rise analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. You know this is my favorite part of the program, Dr. Constance.
I know. Welcome back. We haven't seen you in a long time. We missed you, so glad to have you back.
Oh, yeah, it's been a little bit wild.
Yes, yes.
I'm so glad to be back as well. I feel like I'm back home.
Fantastic. Good to hear that. All right, let's look at those stories that are shaping the agenda for you today. Let's begin with this day newspaper. In this day, Tinubu to editors criticize government policies but don't compromise national unity. This day, Arise Group to launch Leke Leke in January to shape future of social media. And IHS Holding Limited chairman Sam Darwish credits Nigeria for strong Q3 earnings. Daily Independent. Despite court order, PDP vows to go ahead with national convention, and FG not ready to meet our demands. ASU laments. That's Association of Universities in Nigeria. Nigeria to raise 150 billion naira for vaccine procurement, and reps probe 12 trillion naira funding of DFIs. Makinde making Ibadan livable, according to former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who was in Ibadan to launch a project that was a bus terminal in the city. Tinubu has spent 1.5 trillion naira importing ammunition from the US, says a report. The Punch. Weekend naval officer clash as generals fume as FG others probe. Be fair, truthful in government criticism, Tinubu tells editors. National Assembly approves 1.15 trillion naira domestic loan for the president. That's to fund the budget deficits that we have. Reps probe 20 trillion naira abandoned federal properties all across Nigeria. My critics now praise me, says former President Olusegun Obasanjo, now that he's been out of office for a while. It's usually a hot time sitting on that very important seat. New Telegraph newspaper, NGE conference, uphold higher standard of journalism, Tinubu tells editors. Reps to audit abandoned FG properties nationwide. And that story on the National Assembly or the Senate approving the president's over 1 trillion loan to fund the budget deficit is also in a New Telegraph. Leadership newspaper this morning, People's Democratic Party leaders arrive in Ibadan ahead of convention. In spite of all the court orders, they are getting ready for that convention. We'll be watching whether it holds. UN names Nigeria, 15 other countries as food insecurity hotspots. I won't force my deputy to join All Progressives Congress, according to the governor of Bayelsa State, Duoye Diri. The deputy has said he is staying put in the People's Democratic Party. They are not coming back for a second term. They are rounding up their tenure. So there is a sense that why is he trying to, persuade his deputy to join him in the All Progressives Congress? Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu backs NGE's proposal for media tax relief and VAT exemption. Many media houses are struggling with the onslaught of social media and the changing times financially. So Tinubu here at that All Editors Conference accepting to give the media a tax relief and VAT exemption, which will go a long way, as the media is a very important force in Nigeria. And to sports, the Super Eagles under pressure, undeterred. They had gone on strike for unpaid wages and emoluments. So they have been paid and they are continuing with their training. The Guardian newspaper, NGE insists on free press as Tinubu urges fairness, pledges recovery. Minister San defer on Wike's confrontation with the military. FG outlaws mother tongue policy reinstates English as language of instruction in Nigeria. And Nigeria records 566,300 leaked accounts amid 90.6 million global breaches. Moving on to the international headlines, we'll start with Financial Times. Downing Street briefings fiasco piles pressure on Starmer. the Prime Minister is in turmoil, or Downing Street is in turmoil currently. We'll be seeing more of that later. Daily Mail, at last, a ray of hope. Ousting PM will trigger an election, Starmer's allies warn. Still on the state of the Labour Party and the Prime Minister. The I newspaper, that continues as well. And the I newspaper casts it this way. Number 10, in turmoil as before budget, as ministers turn their anger on top aide, McSweeney. The Guardian newspaper, we have that photo of Jeffrey Epstein and President Donald Trump. That's another scandal that is rolling out in the U.S. He knew about the girls. Epstein message, power pressure on President Donald Trump. Daily Graphic, military enlistment in Accra on hold. Daily Express, desperate PM in office, but not in power. That's according to Kemi Badenoch, who is the leader of the opposition Conservative Party. And finally, let's look at the Times newspaper. PM told to fire top aide as civil war hits Labour, and Epstein email claims Andrew photo is real. Returning to this day newspaper, and let's look at Vimba. Let me start with you. You know, the window story actually. IHS Holding Limited chairman Sam Darwish credits Nigeria for strong Q3 earnings. We have been seeing those stories about the sell-off of stocks on the stock market because of this designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. So this is the opposite, you know, showing that indeed the stories are not single. There is the positive and there is the negative. Over to you, Vimbai. Okay, we're not able to get Vimbai at the moment.
Maybe I can put in a comment on that headline.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting that you mention the CPC designation because it seems to have affected the stock market all round. I believe just yesterday we were speaking about how the stocks have plummeted because of a lack of investor confidence with all that has been going on. And you truly now begin to see the link between politics and the economy and everyday life.
Definitely.
And it's very unfortunate to see that these concerns are actually becoming a very fast-moving train that is a daily reality now.
Definitely. Let's go to the second story in this day. Tinubu, the editors, criticize government policies but don't compromise national unity. The president was attending the All Editors Conference yesterday, and the theme of that conference was democratic governance and national cohesion, the role of editors. So speaking to how national discourse can build or erode the bonds that hold the nation together. And also, the attendance of the president at that conference is highly significant. In fact, it's truly remarkable that he was able to find time to go. And we have to look at that within the context of what is going on today in Nigeria, the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by the United States of America. And at the conference, the president had said that he was persuaded by the Minister of National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, to come for that conference, and so he accepted the invitation. But I think that the president understands the power of the media. He's not an ignorant man at all. This is somebody who has been governor of Lagos State, a very cosmopolitan city. He has run for elective offices at various times in the history of this country, and so he has had to go through the media. And he's also involved as a businessman in the media, in both television and in print. So he knows how important the media is, and he spoke to that yesterday. Two key takeaways from his speech. You know, the first one was that I thought he was trying to give a profound message to the media in their space, at their event, you know, within their own terms. He spoke about cohesion, divisive reporting, sensationalism, the influence of social media, and a host of other things. He did accept that the media has to criticize the government, but he asked for fairness and truth and bold reporting. So those were very, very fair points that the president made yesterday. The problem is that in as much as journalists have to be patriotic or expected to be patriotic in the reporting of news, they cannot manufacture good news. The onus is on the managers of the country, to center the people, to rule in a way that is right, in order to improve the lives of people and to change lives basically, and so that you have a country where you can also have as much positive reporting as you also have a bit of challenges and negativity that is going on there. So I think it's very important. The other observation is that the governor of Imo State, Mr. Hope Uzodinma, was the keynote speaker. He also talked about framing, which is important in media. He talked about nation building as well. And the first thing that strikes you is that this is a governor that was number 4 in the polls and became number 1 and became the governor through a Supreme Court judgment. So what it says is that politics matter. So does such a person have the moral standing to preach about nation building? Because what that particular incident did to the Imo State is that it broke it completely. And I don't think that the state has recovered from how it got shattered due to that Supreme Court judgment, which a lot of people did not expect and truly believed was not fair. So essentially, at the end of the day, the nature of power, the nature of politics will determine the kind of news that is covered in the country, although we as media people also have a strong responsibility. Let's go to the next story so that I can bring you in Vimbai.
Dr. Constance, before you go into the next paper, I'm going to put, I'm going to contribute to this particular topic, because I think it is probably one of the biggest conversations of the day. I'm glad that you acknowledged the unprecedented way in which the president ensured that he prioritized we, the media, and, it's important to appreciate him for that. But for me, when I looked at the conversation, I always like to take things from a historical antecedent. When the media was created, when journalism was created, when newspapers, became popularized in the 1700s, they were never neutral. They were actually partisan because they were used by various elites to push whatever narrative they felt suited them. Media later evolved into what we now know as fair reporting, balanced reporting, and so forth. However, I think that the cycle has evolved again globally because there are economic pressures. So when there are economic pressures, what happens is that, of course, media houses are businesses and they begin to tilt in the direction where they feel they can get revenue. And at the moment, we know that revenue is in the hands of the individual, whether it be through clicks or views or whatever it is. Individuals now have the power to steer where a media house's profit margins will go. Now, because of this, you find that there are more vocal opinions coming out. Media is a lot more about identity and giving culture and cultural identity a voice. In the context of this, I bring it all together by saying in the context of this, we now have to ask ourselves, what does nation building mean? And I love what you said, which is that can we all even come together to agree on what patriotism looks like, what it smells like, what it tastes like? So I think in encouraging the media to be patriotic, we also need to be careful that we don't fall into the trap as some philosophers such as Stuart Hall and Gramsci talk about, where nation building becomes a nomenclature that hides soft propaganda. It must be based on truth. It must be based on the reality. And media houses shouldn't be blackmailed under this thing called nation building, which is a term that was invented for the media after colonialism when governments were trying to get buy-in from their people. Many philosophers say that, well, nation building as a concept has started becoming a concept that hides inequality and that hides some of the other challenges that we're seeing under post-colonial administrations. So national cohesion, fantastic, unity, fantastic, but let it not be a way to gag those who want to express themselves in a way that is constitutionally responsible, but may not be palatable to the government of the day.
And that's where, the media should really come into play and step its foot forward, because we're meant to be the ones who deal with facts. That's the difference between the news and social media. The mainstream media is meant to steer the narrative, which is very important. One of the top stories that we've been having in recent days is the issue of the BBC and Donald Trump, because misleading information was put out there. And that's what happens when there's not enough, attention paid to detail. And that's where the difference should be between what is said and is just an opinion and what is fact and backed by data.
Well, the thing is, we are in an age of worldwide internet where
Absolutely.
everyone with a phone and with a laptop is a publisher. And so it is a very
As
difficult...
said by President Tinubu. Yes.
It is a very difficult environment to navigate. For the mainstream media, it is easy to say all these things, to get involved with them, engage with them, as the president and the Minister of Information is trying to do currently in the context of this designation of Nigeria. And like we said earlier, there is a fine line or thin line between being patriotic and reporting the news as it should. A lot of work for us to do. Let's look at that second story in This Day, which says This Day Arise Group is to launch Leke Leke in January to shape the future of social media. We must have followed that advertisement in Arise, announcing this for a couple of months now. So this could be life-changing for Nigerian social media or Nigerian platforms, because currently China and the United States dominate the internet.
Very true.
And the social media space. And why is that so? Because they control most of the world's most digital infrastructure and the platforms and the technologies, So the US, for instance, is leading with companies such as Google, Meta, YouTube, and the rest of them. And so these organizations set the global standards for online communication, advertising, and data economics. And then US used to be dominant, and China jumped in there and dramatically, changed the market.
Yes.
And also became a global player.
Yes.
So now they have their own platforms.
A global giant.
Yeah, such as WeChat, TikTok, Tencent. We have also Alibaba and the rest of them. So they have moved in there. They have the digital infrastructure. And when you also look at what they've done, they are in space as well.
Very true.
And that is why they're able to push through whatever it is that they need to do. So with Leke Leke coming on board, this is Nigeria trying to be part of the conversation, to be part of the infrastructure that is going to be determining what people read, because these are very important points. What people see on the internet, on the digital spaces, who drives it, and what kind of things do you see? The artificial intelligence, the online culture, the information about your particular country, those are all critical aspects of what we're talking about, Yolanda.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're so right, Dr. Constance, because we were having a side conversation earlier about this, about the power that China and the US have in terms of influence, simply because they are literally in charge of the satellites and all the main, components that govern this area. And so we look forward to what Leke Leke has to hold, and we hope that it's something that is going to be a positive contribution to our social media space, especially here in Nigeria.
So come January, we'll see. Let's take another
And also
story.
just, as a caveat, beyond Nigeria, Leke Leke is not just for Nigeria.
Absolutely
it's a voice for the global South. And this is why it really matters. Because yes, as much as China technically does belong to the global South, the distance that China has created, they've gone much further ahead than we here in Africa. And, all you have to do is go to Grok, right? When you're on X, go to Grok and try and search something or get verification on something, and you'll find that the information there is tilted towards a global north narrative. So if we can control a part of the information revolution and let it originate from us, one of the reasons why we're lagging behind with AI is because AI works with data sets, and we're not inputting that data into those sets that allow AI to be able to generate a true and authentic picture of who we are. So I congratulate our chairman yet again for this initiative, because it is a game changer for the global South as a whole.
All right, let's see Leadership newspaper. There on a story on PDP. People's Democratic Party leaders arrive in Ibadan, Oyo State, ahead of their convention. And Vimbai, what a party. A quick comment on this. What a party. And I don't know if that convention will hold, but they're already, gathering. The court orders, it looks like it's not stopping them at the moment.
They don't look bothered at all, totally unbothered and ready to continue with the business of the day. 2 court orders from Abuja, both citing that the convention must be stopped. One from Oyo State, from the court in Ibadan, saying that the convention can go ahead. Conflicting judgments, but they've arrived, they're optimistic. I've just seen a statement from former Senate President Bukola Saraki saying that he does not support this convention, that he thinks that the PDP should for now appoint a caretaker committee just to iron things out as they work out the kinks before a convention. However, yesterday I cracked a joke and I said maybe this PDP convention will be reminiscent of the ANPP convention of 2003, where a court order actually stopped the convention while it was underway. Having said that, the greatest concern around this convention is whether the outcome of it will be legitimate. Will the PDP be plunged into a situation where they set themselves up for a loss of credibility? Because if they are to appoint people in this convention and the convention is challenged, then in essence you're going to have a number of potential candidates in the coming election whose candidacy may not hold any water. Because INEC has said that they endorse Ambassador Damagum as the national chairman. The Wike faction are saying it's not so. There's so many contentions there. Ultimately, we know that the Supreme Court has set the precedent and said that internal party matters are the exclusive authority of parties. So there's so many conflicts, but all in all, it's just an indictment on how we are managing our democracy locally, especially coming from the biggest opposition party, failing to respect the rule of law, failing to respect court orders, forum shopping, and wherever one can get a platform to be able to get favorable judgment. Very unfortunate. Well, we'll sit back and watch and see what transpires in the next few days. But the real question is, will the convention be credible? Will it be accepted? It looks like it won't be.
All right.
Okay.
You had a quick comment on that.
Yes, no, I was just trying, I think Vimbai pretty much said it all. PDP is truly waxing strong despite the circumstances that are ongoing. And part of the report actually says that the focus is now on Saturday. That is where all eyes are looking to now. What is going to happen on Saturday? Will this national convention hold? I believe delegates are expected to start trooping into Ibadan between today and tomorrow. So we wait with bated breath to see what happens and how PDP comes out of this conundrum.
So the party desperately needs to have this convention. Why? Because they need to change the executives. The ones that are on board, have overstayed their welcome.
Right.
And so they have been, they have postponed this before. So it is important that the party has this convention in order to have a new set of party executives that would then, try to reconcile all warring factions and then drive the party towards the 2027 elections, which is what everybody is already talking about. Although there is still time, but there is no time. They have to do the groundwork if they are going to be a strong opposition and field a strong candidate for the party in 2027. So all road leads to Ibadan. Well, let's see whether that happens. Let's go to the international headlines. There, let's quickly look at 3 different stories. First of all, the story broke yesterday about Ali Bongo, the former president of Gabon, who was sentenced in absentia, by the state for 20 years imprisonment. Him and his wife Sylvia and their son have been sentenced, and they also have to restitute. They have to pay back some money to the state for financial damages. We're not sure whether he will serve this term. His wife and son are outside the country. Initially, they were detained for quite a while. Eventually, they were allowed to travel to London on medical grounds. Perhaps this is more symbolic, but it does have key lessons here, which is that power is fleeting. There is a recurring, incident, or this is a recurring incident in history. It serves as a reminder to leaders to use power responsibly and to center the people. And true power, we know, is not earned through force or just authority. It is earned through character. So when you talk about people like Nelson Mandela, Julius Nyerere, you have Samora Machel, Kwame Nkrumah, and a host of other former African leaders who earned leadership and followership and respect through their character, and not just by being, elected into office and having that authority. So you might be in power, you might be in office, but the people do not really want you. You're not really empowered truly. And so at the end of the day, I think that people like Ali Bongo will just join the rank of all other African leaders, such as Paul Biya of Cameroon. You have Alassane Ouattara, over there. And then you have a couple of other people who, people are asking, or their people are asking them, why are you still in office? And at the end of the day, what is the history, or what is your name that you want to leave behind when you leave office? Yolanda, you can jump in.
Yes, sure. It's deeply unfortunate that this is a reoccurring African story. Just looking at the report and seeing the facts, it's very unfortunate. This Bongo family has been in power for 55 years. And just as you rightly mentioned, they're in exile in London, and they've been tried in absentia, and they have actually refused to show up for the court. And not just them, but their lawyers as well. Now, they have denied all accusations, saying that none of this is true. I believe that the wife and son were part of 13 people who were initially accused of corruption and embezzlement. So the court case started on Monday, and it will be running throughout this week. So we hope to see what happens at the end of the case.
Yeah. Viva, do you have a quick comment on that?
Well, I mean, the court case concluded. It was a 2-day trial. And, some of the criticism coming from it is, have we corrected the mistakes of the past? Because, of course, we know that Brice Ngema came in through coup. Ali Bongo was overthrown through a coup, and then Brice Ngema went on to later win elections. But the management of this case, as much as this family may have been complicit in a number of things, when Sylvia Bongo and Nuriben, the son, were detained, they were tortured in detention, which is why they went into exile. And then you kind of look at the haphazard way. Yes, as much as they refused to be present and to have representation at the trial, you now ask yourself if it was thorough. Some of the allegations also were that they manipulated the president after he had a stroke, and this was part of the list of charges that were faced. But a lot of people in Gabon are saying that they don't really care too much for this conviction. What they want is they want the proceeds of corruption to be returned back. Anything that was embezzled should be returned back into state coffers. And for them, they say that's what justice looks like. So it'll be interesting to see whether the state is able to follow up on that. But for now, the question is that, many Gabonese people are asking themselves, have we traded one tough master for a second tough master in Brice Ngema?
Well, we'll have to see. They have been asked to return some money, although it might not be enough. The dynasty was in power for 55 years.
That's right.
To mention earlier. Let's look at the Times newspaper. A PM told to fire top aide as civil war hits Labour Party. Still no breathing space for Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer after accusations leaked accusations from his office alleged that Health Secretary Wes Streeting was plotting to oust him from office. Starmer's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, denies being the one peddling this accusation, but Starmer has been asked to sack him. Yolanda, from one controversy to the other, and this just makes Sir Keir Starmer look quite weak and not in control of his office. There have been successive blows to his administration, and this could cost him. It's really not looking good at all.
No, this isn't looking good at all. You know, Keir Starmer, let me remind you, even though he seems that he has been there, it seems like he's been there for a long time. He's only been 1 year in power and he's already facing the boot. It's sad to see that literally civil war has broken inside of the Labour Party, and now all these claims to remove him, it's just a reflection, a cross-section of what is happening internally, the type of discussions that are being made. Apparently, Downing Street insiders are being accused of fueling a toxic briefing war. That's the word that they used in the report. And I'm not too sure if he will come out well after this, because I think for a while now, he has been under fire. His administration has faced so many challenges, especially with what's currently happening in the UK. So it's not a good day for Keir Starmer.
Yeah, there were controversy about the budget, the raising of taxes,
inflation,
inflation, poverty rising in the United Kingdom,
benefits.
Yes, yeah.
The list goes on.
Finally, we won't be able to discuss this, but we'll mention
Crime,
it anyway. Daily Mirror, Epstein files shock. Trump spent hours with Giuffre in Daily Mail, the photo of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Virginia Giuffre, who accused him of sexual abuse, was true. So for both Andrew and President Trump, while Andrew is already receiving his punishment, we'll see how it goes with President Trump. Those were your headlines today.